It's your girl, Professor Cinephile, and I am back with another film review. This time, we are going to be discussing Challengers. Okay, I just have to say, um, I was not prepared because I did not know anything about this film. I hadn't seen any trailers, I hadn't seen any discussion of it. I totally went in not knowing anything. Just so you know, again, spoiler alert. If you don't want spoilers, pause it here, come back after you've seen the film, and then we can discuss. Okay. So, the major star of this film is Zendaya, and she plays a woman who was once a big tennis star, but now she is helping her husband, who has also become a big tennis star. She's helping him get his mojo back. It seems like he's in a losing streak and he's having some issues with motivation. And he can't seem to win. And so she's trying to help him get back into his groove, right? And so she's thinking, like, how can we go about this? So she decides to, she's also his manager. So she decides to enter him into this like lower level kind of challenge, tennis break off and whatever. And it happens to be a tournament in which his former best friend, who is also a former lover of hers, is competing. And they have not spoken in a very long time because they fell out over her in some ways, right? Okay, so that's the premise of the film. Okay. You know how sometimes you may open up your browser and it's in a meeting and it pops up, and the last thing you were watching pops up and it's a video of some sort and it's playing very loudly. And so everyone in the meeting knows what you were doing at 11:42 last night. Yeah, that's kind of how that film was for me. I was just not ready. I loved it though. Absolutely loved. I'm going to call it a bisex soft porn film. Okay. You've got full frontal peen. You've got bisexual fantasies playing out in a threesome type situation. You've got two men who have a strong, intimate bond. They are clearly like super friends, but there's like, I think what people in the polyamory community call it is kind of like a queer platonic relationship, something that is beyond the intimacy of what we consider platonic relationships, but not quite in the realm of like romantic partner. There's some space in between there. And I really love that this film kind of showed that, because it shows that those kinds of relationships can exist even among men. But it was very, very sexy because there was obvious like that kind of sexy tension between them, but I wouldn't, not quite sexual tension. I don't know if I'm making sense, but anyway, it was looming throughout the whole film. And it's very interesting that they, I felt like this was a film about, friendship between men, and Zendaya just happened to kind of be there. Because I don't think that this was mostly about, their interactions with her or her even being a tennis star. It really was about, there was some coming of age aspects to it, because the film starts in the present day and then it goes backwards and then it comes back, and it kind of volleys like a tennis game would between the past and the present. And each time it goes to the past, it's closer to the time. So that kind of format, right? So it's volleying back and forth, and we know where we are in the present time, and it's kind of given us the backstory of how we got there and what's going on. So if you're into that kind of thing, then you'll enjoy it. I know some folks that actually don't like films like that. I don't like reading books like that. That I just like, okay, I'm dizzy. Like, so I can understand if you don't want that. Very interesting look at racial dynamics that don't come up unless there's like maybe two scenes or so where you're reminded that Zendaya has, is part black. And they have her in the film, her character has a black father. I don't know if that was through her insistence or how it was written. But it's really interesting. She seemingly plays a biracial woman, and these guys are, considering her the hottest woman ever and stuff like that. But of course, if you know Zendaya, she's very, she's light skinned, she's got, the curly hair, Right, right. Okay. The exotic kind of look, the racially ambiguous look that the men seem to drool over. So that comes up a couple of times. Um, and it's interesting how she refers to them as the white boys, but her interactions with them don't suggest that she has any kind of like racial consciousness on that level. So I thought that that could have been fleshed out a little bit, but I'm not sure that it really had anything to do with the plot. So I can see why they did it. Um, there's, like I said, there's a lot of sexual tension. There's a lot of conflict that's like an emotional conflict that I think we can all kind of relate to, kind of like when things go sour with a friend and you want to patch things up, but you feel like maybe what happened was so egregious, but nobody really wants to talk about it, or maybe one person does and the other person doesn't. There was a lot of that in the film. So I enjoyed it. I thought that the pacing was pretty good. Uh, I think I kind of fell asleep. I dozed off a couple of times. I'm not gonna lie. I did doze off a couple of times, but in my defense, I was very cozy in the movie theater, and my seat was back, and I had my blanket, and I'd had a drink. I don't. But okay, so I dozed off a couple of times. That doesn't mean that it was a bad film. Listen, I'm older now. So yeah, so I don't know. I would say go see it when you're alert because it can lull you to sleep. I don't know about y'all, but like tennis rackets back and forth, it could be a little bit hypnotic. So be careful about that. I thought that there were some parts where the cinematography was like really powerful, and other times where I thought it was a little like over the top. It was like unnecessary. But I love the soundtrack. I stayed for the credits and saw that Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, was on the soundtrack, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Because at the moments where you needed that kind of like alt sex, dark noir, Trent Nine Inch Nails kind of stuff, he was giving you that vibe, and I think that enhanced the film quite a bit. Um, I don't know what else I could say. Like I liked it. I did like it. I didn't know what I was getting into. Um, I thought it was really interesting the dynamic between her and the two men. So she okay, so let me tell you. Again, spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. So they all meet as teens, kind of on this like teen US Open circuit. They all get together, hang out one night, and they all kind of hook up together. They don't quite have sex, but they hook up together. And she basically tells them whoever wins, they're playing each other the next day. She said whoever wins, she'll give them the phone number. So these guys are like, they're best friends, they're bros, and they're totally comfortable competing for a woman. Like that's the kind of relationship that they have. So one guy wins, she ends up starting to deal with him, dating him, sleeping with him or whatever. But she and the other guy end up going to the same college together. So they go off to Stanford together. And he's kind of jealous. He's not even hiding it. He really wants her. He doesn't think that the other guy, is good enough for her or whatever situation is. So he's kind of dirty macking. He's like, I don't really think he loves you like that. And she's like, I didn't ask anybody to love me or whatever. So they cut to a scene where she and the guy she's with are getting like kind of having sex or trying to have sex, and all she's talking about is tennis and trying to help him improve his game because he went pro when they went to college, and but he can't seem to win. He can't seem to get past the first or second round. So she's got trying to give him pointers, and he's like, "Why are you giving me pointers? Because we're having sex right now. Like I don't understand that." But that kind of showed what her focus was, and you learn early on, like that early on, she's really focused on being with a winner. She wants somebody who can win. She wants somebody who's passionate about the game. And that's because she ends up getting injured in college and it ruins her whole career and she can no longer play tennis. So in many ways, she's living vicariously through her husband. Yes, they went to college and they do eventually get married. She's living vicariously through him. And she breaks up with the first guy because he's just not a winner. And what we see and what we realize, why she's so invested in him getting his mojo back is because she's living through him and she doesn't like that he is a loser now. Like she needs somebody who can win. She needs someone who's a champion. So that tension comes up. And so when this guy shows up at this tournament, he's all broken, busted. He doesn't have money for a hotel. He's sleeping in his car and all this stuff. Meanwhile, they are very wealthy, power couple, what have you. They encounter each other. Yes, they have sex because she doesn't give a shit. Like I don't, I don't want to say I'm not gonna be like, oh, she's a cheater or he's a homewrecker or whatever. what I like is that there just seems to be between the three of them this just kind of understanding, this like lingering kind of thing. Like dude finds out, like he can tell that they slept together, and he's kind of like, okay, and kind of makes up with his friend at the end, and she's like really happy because these two dudes that she obviously has these connections, she has this love for, this sexual attention for, they're getting along. And for me, it suggests that they have this polyamorous relationship, even though it was a bit disconnected over the years. There's an understanding that they're all going to kind of be together in a certain intimate way. The two men are going to have this deeply intimate bond as friends. The husband and wife have, this love for each other and this bond over tennis. Zendaya and the other dude, they have this real sexual chemistry, this charge, this whatever. Like this, I would classify them as a poly relation. I don't think she cheated because she ain't feel that damn bad. And I think, okay, maybe kind of. Well, I don't know. I think that they're poly. That's it. I'm going to settle on that. I would give this film 4 stars. I do think it's a little messy at some points. Like I said, I did fall asleep a couple of times. I don't see what all the big deal was, aside maybe because the guys were kissing or whatever. Like it's 2024, guys kiss. It's what happens. There was some full frontal peen, which I'm always a fan of because they've been showing full frontal for women forever, so let's see some of that peen happening. So if you don't want to see white penis, you might not want to go see this film. Just saying. So yeah, I'll give it 4 hearts. We're gonna give it 4 hearts. 4 hearts. Not 5, but not 3. Go check it out if you're looking for something kind of sexy, kind of intriguing, kind of low key, you know. Why not? Okay.